Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today we're going to have a little discussion video on, as a fan of music, what is better for the consumer. Now, this is looking at the likes of albums over EPs, EPs over albums, etc, etc. Because in the year of 2025, there has been a noticeable increase in bands wanting to drop a bunch of singles and work quite hard on creating solid singles that stand out with super music videos and stuff like this. As much as people hate them, very much the falling in reverse way as of late. And then once they've compiled enough big hitter singles, that will then get put into an EP or maybe even later down the line an album. But the thing is as a consumer, as a fan of music, what is better for you? What do the fans enjoy? Because obviously for the artist, making one song here and there and working really hard on it and then putting all their basically their craft into this one almost magnum opus, and then trying to outdo said magnum opus with each new release. Fair enough, if you're more of a creative in that way, it kind of works. But again, having, say, one song every 3 to 6 months isn't that enjoyable. Like, the thing with an EP is obviously that there can situate, 3 songs all the way up to about 6, running for about half an hour depending on your playtime. Take for example, recently, one of my last 2 EP reviews, we looked at The Negative by Famous Last Words. It was one of the last EPs, albums they put out, and it was 3 songs, and I think one of them was entirely just narrative, like this dude just talking and giving you the laydown of what the EP was and like the plot. Whereas if they had just stretched this out and gone, okay, instead of doing 3 songs, we're going to do the 6 songs and explore the narrative and the story we're building within this EP through that, with the extra 6 songs, it would have been much more sufficient than having 2 songs which were solid enough and then an entire 4-minute track of somebody just giving a monologue, which kind of is well, if you're doing a narrative based EP, maybe you should keep the narrative in the music and not just do it so short that you need to have an entire monologue track. It doesn't make much sense to me. Whereas, an album generally is 7 or more songs. I think nowadays quite a few people, depending on who you are, anywhere from 12 to 22 songs, it seems to be the going rate, unless you're one of these artists who dabbles in longer songs, when you'll probably see the shorter side of 7 or 8 tracks on an album. And obviously this can run anywhere from fucking half an hour to, the going rate for some good albums is an hour plus. Even more so if you have a deluxe version of an album with fucking orchestral tracks. If you're in the power metal genre, you've got live versions, you've got instrumental versions. If you're Alestorm, you have versions which are completely sung by fucking dogs barking, which generally speaking I tend to skip over. I don't enjoy dogs barking over my music, it's fucking weird. But yeah, so as somebody that listens to a fuckload of music, and like I'll have it on when I'm gaming, when I'm literally just walking out and about on a journey, like I cannot go without my music. And a lot of the time I will put my soundtrack on shuffle because I use Amazon Music for the most part. Spotify occasionally on my Xbox, but predominantly Amazon Music. So with that, I tend to use my soundtrack. But it's also a case of when I'm out and about, if I'm in a specific mood, I do want to listen to a specific artist, I will just put an album on because I do enjoy listening to an album from cover to cover. And obviously, if your favorite artist only has recently come out, let's say they've been out for a year now, they've got like 4 EPs, that's it, each EP has like 3 or 4 songs, that's gonna quickly run out, or you're gonna have to keep quickly changing. So it makes it a bit more awkward. Whereas if you're listening to an album, for example, um, the new Sleep Token album, I think that was like an hour. Most of their songs were like shy of 5 minutes to 7, roughly. You could go out, get your shit done, and that album will probably just be wrapping up, or at least 3/4 of the way through, and you'll be back in time. So I do think, as a consumer myself, I tend to lean more towards an album than an EP. But again, the other thing you've got to take into consideration, not only is it like based for genre, artist, record labels as well, stuff like this, because some record labels obviously want you to do the cycle of album, touring, writing, recording, release, fucking tour. So again, that there would be much easier to do with just albums, whereas obviously if it's an EP, you can't really do like a tour for an EP, but you can do like an album release tour, album release parties, where you don't see that for EPs. So again, that's another like difference between the two. And there are some fantastic EPs out there. I can't name them off the top of my head, but I have listened to some of them. I have reviewed some fantastic EPs. But yeah, as you can tell, this isn't scripted. I am rambling. I am looking at information on my phone. So yeah. And one thing here that my information on my phone does say as well is albums serve as a major milestone in an artist's career. Defining their musical identity and artistic vision, they can be a good way for artists to tell a story or express a specific theme or emotion through music. And again, this is what I was saying about the difference between concept albums and concept EPs as well. Like, concept albums, generally, you tend to have more room and more freedom to explore and draw things out. Whereas concept EPs, for example, Space, Zombie 1, Zombie 2 from The Devil Wears Prada, The Negative by Famous Last Words, those are all very short EPs with a concept behind them. And only some of those succeed very well. Zombie 1 is a fantastic showcase on a concept EP. Zombie 2 is pretty good, but it's not as good as Zombie 1. Space is really fucking good. Like, I would say that is possibly the best concept EP of the 4 that I've named. So it's definitely dependent, I think, on the stage of the career you're in, how you feel about your career. Because some artists, obviously, if they're winding down, they don't want to be doing full albums. They tend to drop more EPs and stuff. Um, as well as, obviously, your touring cycles, your management labels, your contracts and things that you've got to put out. Because obviously, you know, some artists, it will specify in their contract, you've got to give us so many albums and so many of this and that and so many touring dates before your contract's up. So that obviously could also make it so people are less free to explore with EPs and albums than typically necessary. And again, this also brings to question the light over dark of record labels, or, you know, independents. And that's an entire fucking mire of things to wade through in and of itself. And I'm speaking as somebody who doesn't know shit about it. I've just seen, you know, what I've seen through social media disputes between artists and their record labels, you know, like lawsuits and things, speaking to people that have dabbled within the industry. Obviously, I do have a few friends who have been in bands here and there and stuff, so I tend to pick their brain a little bit about how the industry works when and where I can without being too intrusive. So yeah, this has been a bit of a weird one. Let me know what you think. As a consumer, do you prefer listening to an album or an EP, or are you not really that bothered? Because I know it's to each their own. So that being said, I'm going to shut the fuck up. I will see you guys in the next video, and remember to stay safe out there, my friends. Goodbye.